Danielle Sebastian is a relationship trauma expert and best-selling author of Resilient Wives, a guide for wives supporting their husbands through childhood trauma recovery. She's helped hundreds of women repair their relationships while supporting partners through trauma recovery. As the founder of Wife Care and host of the TV show Love and Trauma, The Real Deal, Danielle shares practical strategies for navigating trauma-impacted marriages. Her own relationship hit rock bottom in 2013 when her husband revealed a history of childhood abuse. After years of trying everything and feeling like nothing worked, she discovered that traditional advice fails when deep trauma is involved. That led her to develop the CARE framework, a step-by-step system that helps couples stop walking on eggshells and start healing together. Now, happily married for 14 years and a mom of 2, Danielle is dedicated to helping women reclaim their peace and rebuild stronger partnerships.
Ladies and gentlemen, with her signature keynote, Resilient Wives, Danielle Sebastian.
Hey everyone, I am so honored to be here today. I was reminiscing with some friends lately about our favorite movies, and without hesitation, I knew what mine was. It was the Titanic. There's just something about that movie, about Jack and Rose, about the way that they looked at each other, that just really stuck with me. And if you want to know something really funny, it actually helped me dodge some difficult relationships. I watched this movie and I thought to myself, how come the guy that I'm dating right now doesn't make me feel like that? So I let go of things that weren't a good fit. And in time, I ended up meeting the man of my dreams. He was the Jack to my Rose. He was every single thing that I'd been looking for in a person. He genuinely seemed interested in me, and not just in a surface level way, but in a way that truly made me feel seen. He wanted to know about my career, my passions, the things that lit me up inside. And I also started to realize that, wow, this was the guy that I think I wanted to spend the rest of my life with. So we did. We got married on a stunning beach in Kauai, and it truly felt like a fairy tale. Until it didn't. It wasn't long till I realized that things in my marriage just weren't the way that I thought that they were going to be. It was like I was walking through a landmine where I just didn't know what would trigger an explosion. It was like I would cautiously take a step forward to be met with a reaction that didn't make any sense. If I suggested a different brand of fries, it was like a personal attack. If I asked for help, it was an insult. If there was a toilet running in the middle of the night, it was like a full-blown crisis. And after my son was born, things seemed to get worse. It just seemed like every single ounce of stress, every responsibility, every unpredictable moment that comes with having a baby was just more than he could handle. And at first, I thought that I was the only one that was noticing this absence. I thought that I was the only one that was feeling the weight of every night feed, of every single thing that sent my husband down into the basement. But then, my son started noticing too. And one day, he went down to the basement and he knocked on the door. And in his little brain, he thought that that should be enough to get Daddy to come out. But he was too little to understand what withdraw and distance look like. He was too little to realize that the knock may not be enough. I stood there and held my breath, and I really, really hoped, I thought that maybe the sound of that, my own son knocking on the door, would be enough to bring him back to us. But it wasn't. In that moment, something in me broke. I sat there and I thought, what about me? What about the things that I can't handle right now? What about the fact that I can't do anything but just keep going? And that's when everything unraveled in a way that I never expected. I left my wedding ring on the kitchen table, grabbed my innocent 3-year-old son, and we drove 5 hours to my parents' house. I really thought I was done. And then all of a sudden, my husband appeared. He had the wedding ring in his hand. And I really looked at him. He was pale, and deep inside his eyes, for the first time, I saw this deep, unspoken sorrow. And it was in that moment that I realized I'd been missing something all along. So I asked him, "What happened to you?" And that was when he was finally able to open up about the terrible and horrific abuse that he had suffered at the hands of the Catholic Church throughout his childhood. And that's when I realized that this was not the Jack and Love Rose story that I had imagined. And let me tell you guys, working through past trauma was not exactly what I had in mind when I wanted more adventure in my life. But marriage is bumpy, kind of like my driving, I'm told. So how many in here have loved someone with a traumatic past? Anyone? Yeah. So you know it's a slippery slope. It's a slippery slope between supporting someone and losing yourself. I really started to adapt. I started hiding things, little things. If I got the wrong groceries at the grocery store, I pretended like I meant to. If the kids' activities changed, I handled it. If I ran into the garage for the 3rd time, I repaired it and I never said a thing, because why invite an argument? I took care of everything. The finances, the home repairs, the shopping, the kids' activities, but it never seemed to be enough. But here's the thing about walking on eggshells every single day, is you start to forget what it's like to walk freely. I became an expert at keeping the peace. I became an expert at shrinking myself so that I didn't upset this delicate balance. And in my deepest, loneliest days, I thought that I was the only one who was living this reality. But the hard truth is that my story wasn't unique. Did you know that 1 out of 6 men have been sexually abused? And almost none of them tell anyone at the time. Let's just pretend, what is the average age, you guys, that you think that men finally disclose this type of abuse? Just throw out some ideas. 50? 52 years of age. And the marriages that they build are weighted down by this unspoken trauma. Now, just imagine what that does to a marriage. You're not just dealing with today's conflicts, you guys. You're dealing with decades of unprocessed pain. And for years, I thought I was the problem until I realized that the problem wasn't me, and the problem wasn't him either. It was the trauma. It was this trauma that was affecting every one of our interactions. So I did the work. I researched and I studied and I tried and failed a million times. But what if I could tell you something? It doesn't have to be this way. I created a 4-stage process for women who are married to someone who experienced childhood trauma. A 4-step process to get you out of survival mode and into a relationship where you can both heal. without losing yourself. Now, I could talk for hours through all these stages, but today I want to focus on the foundation, the number one thing that you can start doing today that makes the biggest difference. Now, again, I thought that everything was my trauma. So stage one is really just understanding and comprehending childhood trauma. When your husband has experienced abuse or neglect or been in a chaotic home, if they have experienced betrayal or loss that changed the way that they see the world, their little brains are changed and they're wired to see danger. Their nervous system is constantly just waiting for that shoe to drop. And until I was able to realize that, I just sat there and floundered. Now, this is what stage one is all about. It's realizing that if you can decode those trauma responses, you can stop making it about you, and you can start preserving your peace and responding in a way that you both are proud of. Now, I know you're thinking, Danielle, that's so great, but how do I do this? About a decade ago now, I was driving with my toddler in the back seat, pretending like we were going on vacation. But the truth was, I didn't know if we were ever coming back. My husband, he called and called, and I finally agreed to see him. And the moment that he walked through the door, he had my wedding ring begging me to put it back on. But I looked at him and I said, "You don't want to be with me. You hate me." And I'll never forget what he said. He said, "I don't hate you. I hate myself." Wait, what? All this time, you guys, I blamed myself. I thought that I was the one that wasn't doing enough. I thought that he was just not getting what he needed from me. But all along, it had nothing to do with me. Now, I want to tell you something. There is hope. There is healing. And there is light at the end of the tunnel. My husband did the work. He no longer hates himself. He has peace. And what's even more important is that he knows now that he deserves a family. And so do I. The fact of the matter is that when you're absorbing all the pain for your partner, it doesn't give you any room to heal. So I had to figure out that I had to release myself from his trauma in order for him to heal. I needed to let go of that shame and guilt. So what I want you to start doing today is I need you to armor up. I need you to let that shame and that guilt fall off that shield and drop down to the ground. Because here's what I didn't know that I wish someone would have told me earlier. You don't have to carry the weight of this. You don't have to own his trauma. You don't have to lose yourself in the process. I want you to take this moment. I want you to stand up. I want you to stop feeling shame. You're not to blame. I want you to set down those things that aren't yours. I want you to stop feeling like you can't do anything. I want you to get the help that you need. You are not alone. I know that you have dealt with things that no one will ever understand. But the fact of the matter is, this is your opportunity to step back into the life that you deserve. Today is the day. Life is a choice. Your destiny is in your hands. And today, I want you to choose you.
Great job.
Amazing,
Great
Danielle.
job.
Thank you.